Everybody thinks that, the United States and Europe are the demand side. It's only 800 people. 7 billion people still have an energy deficit. So even though the energy mix will change, the request or the demand for oil and gas will remain high. Where do we stand in Suriname? But it's also important to know. This one I made especially for the politicians, to say that the legal framework for oil and gas sector in Suriname is very strong. And everything points, the constitution, the mining degree, the petroleum law, the production tariff agreements, and the mandate agreement that Sarkozy gave to Xi points into one direction. You want to talk about petroleum or gas. You want to talk about hydrocarbons. By law, you have to be a Sarkozy. So, a minister of natural resources, even a president, cannot sign an agreement with other oil company or with another company, or can say we can participate on behalf of. No, you have to go through Sarkozy. So that's the very strong legal framework that we have, and that is good because that gives a lot of certainty to the people that want to invest in Suriname. And investments, believe me, are tens of billions of dollars before they will get one penny out. So that is an awful lot of money. So they have to get trust that the agreements that we make will stand. That's why I always show this slide. What is the power of Suriname? We keep to our contracts, even though we sign awful contracts. And we did sign some awful contracts in the past with the bauxite mining companies. The protocol agreement is used in law as one of the worst contracts that the multinational made to the economy because of the next 75 years. We don't know what is happening in 75 years. But Suriname never wrote it over. And the same with all the oil companies that we made the contract with, they know that we keep ourselves to the contract. I don't want to say that we are not like Africa, but we are not. So that gives them comfort. And the comfort is why they look for oil in Suriname. I mean, during my period, there were companies that spent billions of dollars in exploration, didn't find anything and left before we had the first oil find. I can talk about Daikuku of Japan, I can talk about Tullow, I can talk about Cosmos. They didn't find, they left without spending an awful lot of money. So it is high risk, but also on the other hand, high reward. We have our legal framework with Sarkozy and honorable, and especially our people. Our people, we have more than 1,200 hours. I'm sorry, because I'm not Sarkozy anymore, but I still feel Sarkozy. Our people are working for 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, only on oil, I guess. So that is one of our strengths. And the other strength is, I don't want to elaborate too much on that because I can elaborate. I can also give a presentation on carbon credits and our nature, but we are the only country in the world that can be proven carbon neutral produce oil. The only country in the world. And we want to keep that because that is our future. Remember that our future is our prestige rainforest. 50 years from now, that will be our natural resource that is infinite. All the other ones are gone. What have we so far? So far we have like 9 oil discoveries and gas discoveries. 2 of these 9 are going into execution. So 2 of the 9 are in FID. There are still 7 out there have. So this slide I am showing because there is more to come. A lot of people focus only on the Grand project that everybody heard about, but there is more to come. And we should understand that. This is not the only thing that is coming up at us. The tsunami that is coming is huge. And everybody talks about Suriname as being an oil country, but we are also a gas country. If you look at the gas that we found so far, we are about 14 trillion cubic feet. We can go to 28, and maybe we can go to 30. I'm not going to explain what is a TCF, but if you look at the other side, 40 TCF is about more than Trinidad has at this moment. 28 is about what Australia, Oman, and the Netherlands have. 50 is about what Libya and Malaysia have. So it's a huge amount of gas that we have out there, already found. So what will happen is if you look at the first, that's already there, right? October 2024, I made this presentation in October 2024. We had the first FID, we had the development, first order comes somewhere in 2020. But immediately after that, we have two appraisals going on with Petronas. This one was still with Exxon, but Exxon left at the moment, so there's only Petronas. Why did Exxon leave? A lot of people are asking why did Exxon leave? Because our petroleum sharing contracts are very harsh. Suriname will get about 60 to 70% of the oil wealth. Suriname will get that. In Guyana, at this moment, they only get 12%. So Exxon said, he says, if I'm going to develop here, Guyana will most probably tell me, guys, if you can do that for Suriname, you can also do that for me. Let's break open the contract. So they left, but the first FID is coming there. And I think that that first FID, I heard Anna, our CEO of Stars, already said that he expects that to be even in 2026. So we expect that to come in June, July 2026. And that means that we will have gas, first gas, somewhere in 2030. What they do very smart is that they do an oil development immediately after that. And why do I say smart? Because when you pump oil, you also produce a lot of gas. Normally, way in the past, they were flaring the gas, but nowadays they have to re-inject it into the gas, which is costing a horrible amount of money. But if I have a floating LNG plant just beside it, I can just bring it to the LNG plant, so I don't have to put it back into the ground, and I can make money out of it. So we expect the oil development to come not long after the gas development, and that's 1, 2, 3. And I always say there will be something. At this moment, Chevron and Qatar are exploring, they're drilling around. See, most probably in 2026 they will know if it hits. If that one hits, it will be a very fast FID because that's not in deep water at 6 kilometers and things like that, but that's in 75 meters of water. So very easy development. So what I'm saying is not only one FID is coming with more. What does this mean in money? Because that is what everybody wants to know. And remember I made this presentation for the politicians. What does this mean in money and in terms as GDP and GDP per capita? When I made this presentation, the budget of 2024 that was submitted by the Minister of Finance was that the Minister of Finance will get $1.2 million, $1.2 billion in income. Remember, 400 million of the 1.2 is already from oil, that's from Sasso. Total told me that because they will develop, the economy will grow with 3 to 5%. So I put the 3 to 5% in the top line. But then in 2028, suddenly 1.5 billion will come. So suddenly, from one day to another, income will double. If the other developments will come after that, in the coming 10 years, the income of the Minister of Finance will be times 6. That's only of oil, not of the spin-off of the economy that will come after that. But only of oil will be the net income of the Minister of Finance will be times 6. Can you imagine if you close your eyes and your boss will tell you tomorrow that your income will be, net income will be multiplied by 6, becoming 5 to 6 years. This is what is happening to Suriname. And we are not prepared. If you look at the GDP, and the GDP per capita, and the GDP per capita is important, the GDP per capita will jump up to most probably between 30 and 50,000 US dollars per person. 30 and 50,000 dollars per person is European GDP per capita. Spain has 32. Greece has 29. Holland has 50. It's just for you to imagine what will happen. So when Alan says nobody will be poor anymore, he means if we calculate the GDP per capita that we will get from our oil income, but it is GDP per capita. That doesn't mean that the richness will also go to the newspaper. This is important to understand because politicians sometimes think that it will go automatically. When the governor gave a presentation, after that came the president, and the president, I hope he would have said, we will put in a project team and we will work day and night in order for the rich stuff that we will get will also go to the newspaper man. But he said, Wandana, don't worry, we will take care that the richness will also go to the newspaper man. The power. Right? So it's so easy to say. So how did other countries experience this? How did other countries do this? Because this is not unique. Even though I must say Suriname is unique in this situation that we only have 600,000 people. We will quadruple our GDP. Other countries did not. They might even do 50% or 80% on the GDP, but not quadruple, not make it from 5 or 8 to 50 and 60. So before that, I want to say, first give an explanation of the resource curve. Remember that was for the people to educate. When to have a development of one sector, in our case the oil and gas sector, and we just saw that's not a rapid development, it's a Formula 1 speed development that we are getting. Causes a regression or destruction in our sectors. This is what is happening. This is what we are warning for. If we don't do anything, this is what will happen. And we see it happening in the time. People who know Guyana 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they understand. Let me give first the two examples of countries that did very well, but they are completely the opposite. One is Norway. Norway said, okay, we found oil. What do we do now? And then a smart guy said, let's make a roadmap, and all the money that comes in, we put in a fund, and that fund is allowed to invest everywhere in the world, except not in Norway. Because otherwise we will get too quick a development in Norway. So, but what we will do, we will take a small part of the money, and we will look at our actual actual sectors and start investing in our sectors to make our original sectors strong. Fishery, agriculture, cattle, tourism, and energy. So that is what they did. They were not allowed to spend one penny of the fund into Norway. And now, that fund is the richest fund in the world, and Norwegians are the richest people in the world. And the economy grew very gradual, with 2% and 3%, based on a plan. And they stick to the plan. Another example is Qatar and the Emirates. What did they do? More or less the same. They made a plan, and they said all the money that we will earn will go into a fund. And that fund is allowed to invest only in Qatar. So we will have a massive growth. Qatar was an island of 60,000 Qatarians. They were all pearl fishers and Bedouins. And today, there are 4 million people, 3.8 million of them are immigrants, 200,000 Qatari, but all the Qataris are rich. And all the 3.8 million immigrants earn an awful lot of money. And I know because I also got an offer once in a while from Qatar to do something there. They pay you a very high amount, and everything is settled for, but you have a contract with a start date and an end date. And your rights in between and at the end are zero. So at the end of the contract, you have to leave. They made an extremely good plan what kind of immigrants they will get. They said, okay, for the construction workers, we will take these and these and these people. For the medical, we will take people from Europe and from the US. For the technical people, we will take people from wherever. But they made an extremely good plan, and they followed the plan step by step by step, and today, the 200,000 Qatari that are there are all rich, and everybody knows what Qatar looks like. And Qatar was a desert before. So these are two countries that are completely the opposite, but that follows the plan. So it is important to understand that if you follow the plan, and if you have a plan, you might be okay. But there are also countries that didn't do well. And I took two countries, one Venezuela. Why I took Venezuela and Nigeria? Because Venezuela is the country in South America, even in America, because it has more oil and gas reserves than the United States. Actually, it has even more than Saudi Arabia. But today, 8 out of 10 people in Venezuela go to that country. It's one of the poorest countries on earth for 8 out of 10 people. Do they have a stabilization and sustenance fund? Yes. But what happened is the oil price went down extremely high. And it was even Chavez who tried to get them out. He was socialist and he did very well in the beginning, but then he killed the oil industry, but had to finance his social program. So also there, it went completely wrong. Nigeria, I don't have to tell you, I mean, corruption there is huge. Really huge. They have a sovereign fund, but it is filled with corruption. They have what I call an institute. The money also flows there to the institute, but nobody knows exactly how much goes in and how much goes to the Minister of Finance. But most probably a lot remains behind. And that is not possible in Suriname because we have staatsolie, and staatsolie is extremely transparent. I find it as that. Okay, I'm going to push it. So what do we think that we should do as Suriname? We must appoint a project team as soon as possible that will work day and night on a Surinamese roadmap. And I know that government is thinking about it. They understand that if we don't do anything, we might fall into this trap. Because they have Guyana as the good example. A broad social discussion, this is how I call it, because if the plan is not carried by all parties, by the unions, by the politicians, and by the business society, you can make the nicest plans in the world, but it will not work. So we can become Norway or Qatar, but I think we should become a paradise of Suriname. And the paradise of Suriname is somewhere in between, because we have a lot of sectors that are behind. Education, healthcare, but also infrastructure. So we have to invest in that first in order to become the paradise where everybody is living. The big problem is that if we don't do anything this time, because Suriname is very good by not doing anything. It's true. I always say we are the greenest country on earth, not by design, but by default. But this time, if we do things by default, the oil curves will hit us hard. And I can guarantee you that Suriname can be a paradise, but it is in our hands this time to be sure that we are. And this is just the phrase. I would say, if you have any time, this is my nice picture, you know, at the end.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Elias. We have 2-3 minutes